it's a very different subject matter that we're looking at today. And I'm going to start by asking you what you think about this emerging story that recently featured on US television, on that renowned television program 60 Minutes on CBS, about the US Navy confirming the existence of what we call UFOs, unidentified flying objects. What were your thoughts on that? Because I know that you've been watching this subject for many years now.
Indeed, Peter, this story goes back to the 16th of December, 2017, when the Navy videos were released, 3 of them, in fact, that depicted these unidentified flying objects captured by US Navy pilots flying, and the US government confirming that they didn't know exactly what they were. So this is a confirmation that they have these UFOs that are, that exist outside of what they know. And it's something for us as human beings, and for myself as a social scientist, I found this fascinating, and which is what encouraged me to actually dig a little deeper to see if I could find out, in fact, what's going on here. Is this something that that we're missing? And what I found was that, in fact, the story goes much further back in time. You can go as far back as 1972, when the US Air Force, in fact, undertook a similar investigation into the existence of UFOs called Project Blue Book, that has now been serialized in a television program. In 1996, a British member of the UK Department of Defense, or Ministry of Defense, Nick Pope, in fact, also released information that he had encountered, very strong evidence of the existence of UFOs. And then fast forward to 2017, confirmation that there used to be a program within the United States Department of Defense called the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program, or ATIP, headed by a gentleman called Luis Elizondo, who featured in this CBS 60-minute segment that was absolutely riveting to watch, almost a confirmation, as you say, that in fact UFOs are real. And the question then becomes, what do we as humanity in fact do about this?
Why do you think that this is becoming or coming into the mainstream now? I know there was a story not so long ago about an incident in rural Zimbabwe where school children said that they saw a UFO and interacted actually with, I suppose, what we can call aliens. But why is it mainstreaming now?
That's a very interesting question, a very good question. And the case study that you mentioned happened in 1994 in a school called Ariel School, which is just outside Rua in rural Zimbabwe, where 62 children, in fact, saw a silver disc landing and entities that did not look human, in fact, emerging and engaging with them briefly before they left. This has been documented. There's research that's been done on it. Your viewers can, in fact, research for themselves, Google, check on the M&G website, Mail and Guardian website, and get more information for themselves. But I think the game changer has been the ability of the US Navy aircraft to actually film these unidentified flying objects in motion. And you'll see on YouTube, if you do a quick search, see that they've got these images of these craft flying, at relatively fast speeds, and the Navy pilots themselves confirming that this is not something that they're familiar with. They do not know about its existence in current US naval and Air Force technology. And I think that ability to film it and actually have almost documentary evidence is what has sparked the most recent conversation since 2017, which is 4 years ago. And here we are today with a video that was released just a month ago, in fact, depicting 3 triangular craft in formation. That's something that we've never seen before. And the Pentagon, the US Department of Defense, confirming that these are in fact real. So I think it's our ability, technological ability, to get to the point where we can actually film them and have a conversation about them that's really stoked the most recent interest and discussion around this.
So their initial analyses, I mean, they know for sure that they can't identify what they are, but what are they thinking it could be?
So there are three current theories about what potentially they could be. The US government is notorious for, in fact, slowly releasing new technology to the public and gradually saying, okay, look, we finally built this thing. This is how it flies. So that's one theory. It could be US new tech. It could be also China, Russia, EU, Japan, maybe also they've got new tech we don't know about. And the third theory that is the most kind of intriguing for me is that this potentially is an extraterrestrial civilization that is in fact interacting with humanity for the first time, for the reasons that I mentioned, that we are at a technological point now where we can not only film them, but perhaps even understand the dynamics, the mechanics, and the engineering that goes into enabling craft to do this. We know the theories out there in terms of these anti-gravity flight. In fact, if anyone does a search, they will find that the information is known. The practicality of doing it, though, has not been achieved yet. So perhaps this is the time that we are seeing that there are other civilizations out there that are in fact prepared to engage with humanity and maybe even help us. Deal with the COVID virus that's still in our society.
I mean, the more we talk about this and the idea that there could be other civilizations, of course, people will be thinking, what is going on? But let's assume for a second that there could be other civilizations. I mean, to think that this tiny little planet called Earth in this massive universe exists alone, perhaps maybe the starting point. But what might it mean if, let's say, there are other civilizations? What could it mean for humanity?
Well, I think it would be a real game changer in terms of even our own, the way we deal with each other as human beings. We're so busy fighting and we're engaged in factionalism. If we discover that in fact that there are other civilizations out there, it helps. It makes us think and look at each other as, oh wow, okay, so maybe we shouldn't really be doing all of this, kind of factionalism and battles that we engage in, and begin to see ourselves differently. That this is our home, the Earth, and there are other homes out there that we need to start engaging with. Now, there's a challenge in terms of making sure that mentally we are prepared to deal with this. There's a lot of dogma. For some people, their religious upbringing doesn't really permit them to think in these terms. There's a very strong narrative that they get. And so there's a mental preparation and preparedness that does need to take place. But I think it would be a significant game changer in terms of our global society, our economics, our politics, our, everything, basically our relations, even with now the neighborhood, the solar system neighborhood that we're in. So I think it's important for people to just do their own research, as I said, make up their minds and prepare themselves mentally for what might be a very interesting interstellar visitation if these visitations continue in the next few years.
So you've given us clues that perhaps the Americans have been at this for a long time, albeit in secret. So what does that mean for us as Africa and Africans? Do you think that the African Union, maybe even South African government, could start investigating, preparing, or might these programs already exist and we just don't know about them?
Yeah, the nature of these programs are that they're generally kept secret, and that's the whole point of a secret space program. And I think for Africa, it's interesting that we are also now in the interstellar age. South Africa has satellites in space. About 10 other African countries also have satellites in space. A country like Nigeria is already looking to see how it can begin even going beyond just launching satellites. So I think for the African continent, for the South African government, the South African government actually has a space agency, that should begin to help to educate people, even just to think outside the box, and the African Union similarly must also begin to think, okay, what does it mean for the continent? Because the engagement is not only going to remain in America or Europe or China or Russia, but in fact, Africa itself, as we heard from the story on the Zimbabwe children, that it might actually, begin to affect us as Africans as well. So we do need to start thinking a little bit more kind of broadly, expand our thinking, open our minds, and actually just be prepared for what might be an interstellar visitation, as I said.
All right, perhaps finally, what would you say to those that want to find out a bit more and perhaps are watching this and they think these two have lost their minds? I'm not sure what the SABC is up to now, and they maybe want to just explore this a little bit more.
Look, so there's a lot of research that's now emerging, that's available online. Clearly, one has to be discerning as to what one interrogates, but the easiest and the quickest route is to access the videos on YouTube, which are available. One is called the Go Fast, then there's the Tic Tac video, and just make up your own mind, really. I think it'll take different people, different paces to get to a point where they can either engage with or at least have a comprehension that this could be a reality that's unfolding before our eyes, given what's happening. And I think then there's a role for us as individual citizens to have serious conversations about it, not to simply just ridicule someone when they raise the issue, to think outside, to think broadly. And our government similarly also driving discussions at the level of policy. I think it would be crucial. So I think just to prepare ourselves mentally. I mean, we really don't know what's coming now with all this information that's being released, but the fact that we have this information happening, disclosures happening, and confirmation of the reality of these crafts that we don't understand, I think it's important for us as citizens of the world to actually begin to engage more seriously with this subject.